China and Russia sign pipe deal. Afghanistan earthquake death toll passes 1,400 as Taliban appeal for aid. France orders hospitals to prepare for a major engagement by March 2026. Burkina Faso bans homosexuality as a crime punishable with prison and fines. Good afternoon, welcome to Around the World in 30 Minutes. I am Bulus Joannery. Many thanks for joining us. Well, China and Russia have signed an agreement to build a new gas pipeline through Mongolia, deepening into commercial relationship and Beijing in a week in which they set out an alternative to Donald Trump's US-led global order. Alexei Miller, the head of Russian oil and gas group Gazprom, announced the deal after talks with Beijing today involving President Putin and Xi Jinping. The trilateral talks also involved Kureshku, Ukna, and the leader of Mongolia, which will be a transit point for a pipeline, according to Russian state news wire Interfax. Once completed, the pipeline will allow the transit of 50 billion cubic meters of gas a year from Russia through Mongolia. Supplies under the new agreement will run for 30 years. The deal and others signed involving existing routes will significantly increase China's energy purchases from its neighbor and help compensate Russia for its loss of European markets since the full-blown war in Ukraine began. The agreement in the latest example of the strengthening ties between Putin and Xi as they prepare to attend a military parade tomorrow in Beijing to commemorate the 80th anniversary of Japan's defeat in the Second World War that will project China's military power around the alternative to the US-led global order. Meanwhile, the Taliban have called for international aid as Afghanistan reels from an earthquake that killed more than 1,400 people and left thousands more injured. Rescuers searched into the night on Monday for survivors after the 6.0 magnitude quake struck on Sunday, destroying entire villages across the country's eastern Kunar province, which borders Pakistan. Many remain trapped under the debris of mud and stone homes built into steep valleys, but rescuers struggle to reach remote areas because of rough mountainous terrain and inclement weather. It was a shallow earthquake taking place just 6 miles beneath the Earth's surface, which is known to have a particularly destructive impact. The death toll had passed 1,411 and more than 3,000 people were injured. Zabihullah Mujahid, a Taliban government spokesperson, said on Tuesday. Authorities said they expected casualties to rise further once rescue teams reached more isolated locations, many of which remained inaccessible more than 24 hours after the quake struck. In the meantime, Darren Jones, the Chief Secretary to the Treasury, has been moved to a new senior role in Downing Street as Keir Starmer attempts to get a grip on delivery before what is likely to be a tumultuous autumn for the government. The senior MP, whose new title will be Chief Secretary to the Prime Minister, has been put in charge of day-to-day delivery of the Prime Minister's priorities after Number 10 spent the summer struggling to get on the front of issues including the economy and migration and lags behind Reform UK in the polls. He will be replaced as Rachel Reeves' deputy by James Murray, who has been promoted from ex-Care Secretary, a more junior ministerial role at the Treasury. Taken by Dan Tomlinson, the government's growth mission champion, as Steamer seeks to reward the new 2024 intake. Europe is bracing for a potential conflict of unprecedented scale, with fears of a war escalating amid rising tensions between Russia and NATO-aligned nations. According to Metro, France's Ministry of Health has instructed hospitals to prepare for a possible major engagement by 2026, anticipating a scenario in which they may need to support a large number of wounded soldiers from across Europe. In a letter dated July 18th, the ministry directed regional health authorities to be prepared for a major engagement, anticipating the need to care for. According to the media, the letter instructs hospitals to prepare for treating thousands of soldiers within 10 to 180 days. France is reportedly also considering setting up medical centers near bus and train stations, airports and ports to enable the rerouting of foreign soldiers to their home country, the letter said. In other news, neutral conditions have persisted since March 2025, with sea surface temperature anomalies remaining near average across the equatorial Pacific. However, these conditions may gradually make way for La Nina conditions to emerge in the coming months, potentially starting in September 2025. According to the latest forecast from the VMO Global Producing Centers for Seasonal Prediction, there's a 55% chance for sea surface temperatures in the equatorial Pacific to cool to La Nina levels, and a 45% chance for them to remain at ENSO neutral levels during the upcoming September to November 2025 period. And for October to December 2025, the probability of La Nina conditions slightly increases to about 60%. There's little chance of El Nino developing during September to December. In the meantime, Burkina Faso's government has passed a law banning homosexuality, with those found guilty facing 2 to 5 years in prison, according to the state's broadcaster. The draft law was unanimously passed on Monday by 7 to 1 unelected members of the country's transitional government, which has been in place since the military seized power under the leadership of the now President Ibrahim Traoré after 2 coups in 2022. Justice Minister Idaso Rodrigue Bayala announced the law on national broadcaster RTB and said those guilty would also face fines along with serving prison time. The new law is expected to go into effect immediately. That wraps up the program, but before we go, the headlines again. China and Russia sign pipe deal. Afghanistan earthquake death toll passes 1,400 as Taliban appeal for aid. France orders hospitals to prepare for a major engagement by March 2026. Burkina Faso bans homosexuality as a crime punishable with prison fines. From me, Bulus Joanna Ray, do have a lovely day. Bye.